Hello, everyone. This is the Bearded Music Teacher with another episode 20, and today's topic is Lieber and Stoller. That's what we're going to start out with, at least. We may get a little further in this podcast, depending on how fast we get through this. So, real quick, this podcast episode is devoted to educational purposes for my students. This podcast originates with providing just a quick synopsis of what's discussed and a couple tracks or cuts that I would like my students to dive into or what we dived into in the classroom. But this isn't exclusively just for my students. If you are a listener that is not my student, let's say you're listening in another country or another state of the United States, that's great. Please pass this on, listen to other of my episodes, and all of this stuff I have found through various sources in my research in rock history, and I am a teacher. Any reproductions of this podcast are strictly prohibited without the written express consent of yours truly, the bearded music teacher. So today's topic is Lieber and Stoller, and they became the most important songwriting team of rock music. They enjoyed hits on the R&B charts such as Charlie Brown's Hard Times, which is number 7 in the R&B charts in 1952. So we're talking pre-first wave of rock. They also did stuff with Mama Thornton, who did the original version of Hound Dog. Definitely recommend watching that, or I'm sorry, listening to it, really. There is a couple video versions of her doing it also. Then you also have the Robins with Smokin' Joe's Cafe, and that was a number 10, I want to say number 10 hit in 1955. In 1956, Elvis's version of Hound Dog went to number 1 on the pop charts and in country charts, prompting the team to write more songs for Presley. And two of them that come to mind right away would be Don't, which was number 1 in the pop charts, I think in 1958, I want to say, and Jailhouse Rock, which went number 1 in all three charts in 1957. But in 1953, they formed their label, Spark Records, and began producing songs in what would soon become a standard sense of the term of producing. So they are more or less they're songwriters, but they're also producers, and we'll get to that. They had already, by the time they did their record label, they had already recorded 3 rhythm and blues hits for Robbins on Spark when they got the offer to do Atlantic Records. So the duo found the business end of running an independent label to really be daunting and just monotonous, boring, and quite honestly, unrewarding. So they welcomed the change to move to a bigger label and leave all that tough work behind. Because as an independent label, it was really a lot of hard work. But the unique thing is that they retain the rights to work with other artists and labels. So they kind of were like a wild card, making them among the first independent producers in pop music. Nowadays, it's not a big mystery or a big thing to have producers work with multiple record labels and multiple artists. Um, you see that when you study heavy metal, there is a bunch of different people that would work with, let's say, Motley Crue, and then one of them worked with Megadeth, and then one would work with Metallica, and then they jump over back to Megadeth. So there's a lot of different things, but Lieber and Stoller kind of set it up. So one of the hits that they were on board with was Yakety Yak, and I actually use this in my class, and they they go, "Oh, well, I kind of recognize that." And I'm like, "Yeah," and it talks about the household chores and teenage disputes with parents. If you listen to the lyrics, it's all about doing chores around the house, and the teenagers, all they hear is yakety yak, which is just slang term for like blah 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 type deal. And Charlie Brown was about a kid who always got trouble in school, and that um, was, I believe, um, number 2 in the pop charts, 2 in the R&B charts. And that was somewhere in like I think 1958 or 59. Um, but besides that, they also recorded little playlets with a group called the Coasters, and those were short songs that often told of humorous stories. So they were like kind of little, I guess you could say like little vignettes almost. And Lieber and Jerry Lieber remarked that the very first song they wrote for Robbins, Cell Block Riot in Cell Block 9, was inspired by a radio show called Gangbusters. I still have yet to figure out exactly why, but I guess they were so inspired by that there is a connection with that, with the actual cell block. But anyways, so Lieber and Stoller's lyrics can also be read on more than one level. What about Us from 1959? It was a minor hit. Is a thinly veiled commentary on racial inequality. One Run 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 hit number 36 on the pop charts, if I remember right, in the 60s. And that told a story of a monkey whose owner, Red, teaches him how to play poker. When the monkey learns how to play poker, he also learns that Red has been cheating him. The monkey grabs a weapon and chases him around, and it's actually a quite interesting little thing. But you can really dig deeper. A lot of people have a lot of music scholars have been like, hey, wait, that's a comedy. I mean, imagine a monkey learning how to play cards and then learning that the guy named Red has been cheating you on how to play, and then you go after him, and it's kind of funny to think with a monkey chasing after its owner be all over a card game. But scholars were like, wait, it's more than just that. And they believe that it has to do with the exploitation of minority groups in the United States. So at that time. So that was a huge thing for them. And another one that comes out of there, out of the same era that's important, and we might as well just throw them in here as a little added bonus material, but it does pop up, is Phil Spector's Wall of Sound. Now, he did, he worked under the team of Lieber and Stoller. So for a while, he was like the producer of the whole thing. And what he developed and what we have to realize is that he changed the way radio was listened to, and music was listened to. In the early 60s, he did a lot of work with girl groups. So he did a lot with the Crystals and the Ronettes. The Ronettes are the ones that come to mind with Be My Baby, and the Crystals with, I believe they did the Do Run Run. And those two are very, very important with that. And he developed this concept called the Wall of Sound. And basically what it is it creates the idea of stereo tracking. Um, Up until then, we have what's called mono, which means it's one track through one speaker, or multiple speakers, just one track, one sound. And instead of that, Phil Spector takes that idea and really throws into the fact that you're almost thrown into this thick recording. And that's a blend of instruments and voices to create what he called the wall of sound. Now, that's just a basic idea, but the guitars, bass, and piano and percussion were all on one track. Then all the vocals are on the second track, and add the strings to a third track. So before that, we had just one track mixed all together, boom, done. So if you can imagine a rope, the mono track is just one rope. The wall of sound is thicker. And now instead of doing one rope, you're braiding the same one rope and then the same width of the rope another time and another time. So instead of getting one, you're getting 3 or 4 or 5. And this sets up a huge catapult into other things. But It's important because Phil Spector and Lieber and Stoller really go together. Um, and that's something that we need to make sure that we hit together. But definitely look into, there's videos, tons of videos on YouTube that explain the wall of sound. It changes the idea of mixing, and the Beach Boys with Brian Wilson really dives into that as a huge thing with the Beatles, Beatlemania and the response to it and everything. But I would listen to get an idea of Lieber and Stoller. I would listen to the original version of Hound Dog, Jailhouse Rock, of course. What About Us? Run, Red, Run. And then I would also do the Do Run Run, Then She Kissed Me, and Be My Baby. Those tracks would be something that I would listen to just to kind of get the idea of the sound, the girl group, the 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 layered effect of the sound, as well as the double meanings of the lyrics when it comes to the Lieber and Stoller songwriting idea. All right, guys, that is it for today. Thank you for listening to this podcast, and thank you for rocking and rolling with me through rock history. Until next time, see you later.